Hey YouTube, it's me, aka Butter. That's right, Mika. I am back to you with a video. This is something personal to me, so I wanted to share with you. It's semi a story time, but I'm actually doing this in honor of a favorite YouTuber of mine. His name is Sean Bradley. And the reason that I've chosen to do this is because, some things in life that we don't think are real or we take for granted, affect other people very seriously. So, without further ado, I'm not going to play any intros or, talk about ice cream and cocoa and all that good stuff. I want to get straight into it. So, before I start, I want to give you a little bit of background story. This gentleman is a man. He's a black man. He happens to be gay, which I would like to clarify something about gayness that I think that has nothing to do with who a person is. That is their bedroom preference only, to me. Okay. Um, as far as acting or thinking or any of those things, that goes by individual person. So, just because one person is gay doesn't mean they think a certain way or they act a certain way. There are plenty of gay people that aren't what we would call flashy or flamboyant, and there are plenty of gay people who are. There are straight people who you would think they were gay based on the way that they act, and they are not. Okay, so we need to stop judging people by their personal sex preferences. That's number one. Number two, he is a foster parent. And from what I can tell, a damn good one. I've looked at this man's social media. He's got his kids on there, nothing too personal about them or anything like that, but he shows them a good time. He takes them on trips. He, colors with them. He spends time with them. But he also has a personal life. He has a YouTube channel. He comes on and he talks about things with everybody. It seems to me, just from what I've seen, and I've watched 1,010,000 of his videos, like a good person, a good hearted person. Now, a lot of us in the YouTube world that watch videos like drama, okay? When we see the Tasha K and the Lovely T going at it, we are there for it, right? When I see so and so and so and so, I'm like, oh, what happened now? You know what I mean? It's almost like reality TV. But one thing that you should never do, you get into it with somebody on YouTube and they drag you and they dog you out. Take your L. Just take your L. I, they got me. Maybe I can come back later on and get them. But you don't go so low as to start researching who they are, where they work, where they live, who their family is, who their children are. That, my friend, is mental illness. It's stalking, it's abuse, it's wrong. Whoever, you need to stop. Really. It's criminal. It's literally criminal activity. So, the reason why I made this video, I hate to, I'm going to get off the soapbox on that. But the reason I made this particular video is because I'd like to tell you my story and how it relates to what's going on with Sean Bradley. It doesn't really fit all the way in, but it has something to do with it because he is a foster parent. And I was in the foster care system. Um, it's no secret. My mother was borderline paranoid schizophrenic. She had me when she was 16 years old. And my father was 17 years old. Yes, I'm extremely light, but both of my parents are black. Okay. Um, and it was kind of tough. It was me at first. I was born in Ohio, raised in California when I'm from 2 years old on up. And I kind of went back and forth between mom and grandma depending on how my mom was. Sometimes she would go to the hospital and she would be there a while, so we'd have to go and stay with grandmother. Okay. Um, and once I got to my teenage years, I kind of didn't understand like what was going on. I mean, I knew what was going on, but I really didn't understand it. It was like, why is it always about my mom? Why do I have to tuck my mom into bed? Why do I have to, So there were certain things that were going on within our home that weren't abusive necessarily. I got my ass whooped regardless, but it wasn't, anything bad. It was just I was getting whoopings and I was doing things like going out and staying out, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually called CPS. I was being bad. My mom whooped me for skipping school, but I really didn't. It's a long story. I end up in foster care. Me and my little brother. All right, and basically, I'm 5 years older than him. When it came down to it, because I was a teenager and I had been going out and staying out, and I was messing around with smoking weed and cigarettes and all that stuff. Um, my grandparents came and got my brother, and CPS was like, "We're gonna hold this one for a little while longer." And I ended up going into foster care. I probably could have eventually gone back home. However, I couldn't, and I'm gonna tell you why. I went to a temporary foster home, which was, a place that was going to house me until, court was settled and they figured out, what they were going to do with me, whether I was going to become a ward of the court or whether I was going to go home or, what's the deal. So I went to this one house, and basically, eventually, my mom came to court. She hadn't been taking her medicine, and it was just the whole thing was a mess. So I ended up becoming a ward of the court. And at that time, I really didn't understand why my grandparents didn't come to get me. So I was blaming everybody. And I was really not there for any of it. I was like, okay, this is all some bullshit. And fuck everybody. I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it. So when I was placed in the next home, it was a really nice, very caring, loving home. There was a lady and a man. They were married. They had like three other girls. And the school that I went to, Lincoln, for a little while, was right up the street. They cooked dinner every day. They helped us with homework. But I wasn't having it. So I decided I was gonna go out. I was gonna show the other girls how to get down to TJ and party and have fun and how to wear makeup and how to put your dress on real short and all that stuff. So basically, I turned them girls out, and I feel so bad now. I mean, I'm grown now, obviously, but back then, 13, 14, 15, whatever, I wasn't, I was just on some wild shit. After about a year, the foster family gave up. They were like, y'all got to come get her. At the time, in California, the foster care was completely overwhelmed. This was like mid to late 80s. Okay. Um, so basically what happened was, after I kind of turned the girls out, and the foster mother, she came to me and she was like, I don't understand. We're trying to love you and we're trying to help you, and you just not cooperating with us. And she actually sat and talked to me, and I felt bad. I was like, you know what? You're right. I straightened up. I started going to school, but it was too late. She had already called them and told them to come and get me. And it was like the next week they came and got me. So I went back to New Alternatives in California back then. I don't know if they still do it the same or if they do it different, but there was like NA6, NA12, NA16. It stands for New Alternatives, and based on your age, that's where you would go. So, the older you are, the higher number that you would go for New Alternatives. So I was there for a little bit, and I met some kids that had been in the system pretty much all their life. And so I kind of rocked with them for a little while. But I wasn't really, I wasn't like a badass kid. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't out shooting nobody, robbing motherfuckers, and none of that shit until later. But what happened was, I was there for a little while. I kind of got in with, a couple of little kids there, whatever, but I ended up getting placed. And the lady, I don't know how it ended up happening. She came to see me while I was there. I don't know if she was supposed to be like a foster mother for troubled teens or what it was. She ended up coming to see me while I was there. And I sat and talked to her for a little while. And she said, well, okay, I think, she'll be a nice fit or whatever. So she came the next day. My first impression of this lady was, wow, she's nice. Okay. This is my chance to start over, to get on the right track, go to school, do all that stuff. This lady came and got me. Now, I told you that both my parents are black and I'm extremely light. I skipped generation. I don't know what my dad's about my complexion, so I mean, I guess I take after him. But she fooled me. This lady fooled me. She didn't just fool me, she fooled everybody, right? But this is the thing though. The difference between somebody that's sadistic and somebody that's just a normal person, a person who is a sadist cannot hold it in. They can't. Okay? And they can only do it for so long. Sean lives in the public eye and he cusses and he fusses, but he's very transparent. He's not the type of person that you'll say something to him. I can tell. I've been on this earth a long time. Okay. I can tell when someone is being facetious and when someone is being who they are. And Sean is being who he is. And I don't see sadism in him at all. You know, I just don't. And for people to accuse him of certain things without having any evidence, any proof, any just being vindictive, that's some of the dirtiest, foulest, low down, filthiest shit you could ever do to somebody. But let me get back to my story. So the lady was nice. We got in the car together. She had one of them little. It almost looked like one of them cars from Back to the Future. It was a little gray, silver looking thing. The doors didn't open upwards, but it was similar to that. To date how old I was at the time. So, and that was kind of a newer car back then, by the way. Back to the story. So we get in the car, and she said, "So, what's going on with your mom and your dad?" I said, "They didn't tell you?" She said, "Well, I want to hear what you have to say." And I said, "Well, nothing really. Why do you ask?" She said, "Well, what are you?" I said, "They didn't tell you?" They placing with you. You black, ain't you? I'm black. Oh, she said, "Oh, you think you cute?" I said, "No, I'm just responding." She said, "Okay, I got you." So, we stopped somewhere and picked up this little girl, which apparently this was a girl that she had adopted. Now, we all black in the car, but she darker toned than I, both her and the girl. When we picked up the little girl, I went ahead and got in the back seat as she asked me to. The little girl sat up front, which, nowadays it should be the other way around. You get in trouble for that. But back then, wasn't nobody thinking about, oh, the little kid sits in the front. So, anywho, she yells out, "Who's hungry?" And the little girl goes, I am. I say, "Well, yeah, I'm kind of hungry too." So she said, "Y'all want McDonald's?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." So we get to McDonald's. We are at the drive-through. She says, "What do you want?" And the little girl said, "I want ice cream cone, a Happy Meal, and I think it was like a hamburger Happy Meal, cheeseburger Happy Meal, and ice cream cone." And I said, "Well, I'll just take the same thing." She looked at me as if she was taking my order. She looked back in the back seat at me and said, "Well, what about you?" So I said, "Well, I just have the same thing." She places the order, but it's just what I think she got like a Big Mac meal or something and one Happy Meal. And so before we left, I was like, "Oh, and a Happy Meal for me." So she looked back at me and she continued up to the window. And I was like, "Okay, maybe they knew or maybe they heard me or something. I don't know." So we get to the window And they hand us the food. She hands the little girl the Happy Meal in the front seat and her ice cream cone. And she proceeds to drive off. So I don't know this lady. So I was just like, I ain't even gonna say nothing. The lady says to me, "That's what's wrong with you light skinned bitches. You think you special." Oh Lord Jesus. And it was all downhill from there. This woman kept me locked in my room. She did not let me go to school. She made me clean the kitchen dishes. I'm talking about she would cook huge meals of food and set Brussels sprouts in front of me. The rest of the table was full of food and tell me you cannot eat anything else but these Brussels sprouts because you're fat. She would I mean, sadistic. She couldn't help herself. She did not like me for whatever reason, beyond I was a kid. I was a child. She treated me like I was a grown woman that she really hated and was so vindictive and so I gotta I got stories, okay, about this lady that would leave some of you sick. She was not nice to anyone, even the little girl. She was nicer to her than she was to me, but she wasn't even nice to her. Um, she just made sure that she played favorites in front of me, but when I wasn't around, I could hear her, doing some of the same things to this little girl. Sean is not that person. I've seen a couple of foster homes. That particular one was the worst one. I finally kind of took after my mama and went off on her, and I'm glad I didn't hurt anybody. But I left from there, and my trust for life, for people in general, was gone for a very long time. I lived on the streets until I was about 17. I take that back. I think I went to stay with my uncle for a little bit. But by then I was already gone. Like, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was gonna do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. I was gonna hustle however I needed to hustle. I was gonna beat whoever, whoop whoever I needed to whoop. And that's just what it was. I wasn't, so when me and his wife got into it, kinda we had to part ways. But my aunt finally took me in at 17 going on 18. I finished school at Morningside for a little while, um, but I got kicked out of there for fighting, and I ended up having to go get my GED. So that's what I did, and I ended up moving away from California because it was too much going on. I was doing some shit that I'm not gonna say because y'all motherfuckers will probably come looking for my ass and trying to see what the fuck all my shit's about. And see, I can't be transparent here. I can't even share my own story. That might be able to help someone else because you got vindictive motherfuckers that's out here like researching people's shit. And I'm gonna say this: if you go look at my background. hmm Yeah, you want to look at somebody's background? Look at my background. You'll find that them felony charges I beat and a few others. So yeah, people have lives out here, and I finally come out of it, and I've made something of myself, and I'd like to share myself and my story with the rest of the world. And it shouldn't have to be that I would come on my platform or anybody else's platform and them having to worry about you ain't no gang. Y'all, you ain't seen, you don't know what the hood is. You ain't seen no fucking ghetto for real. Don't stop trying to be an internet gangster. Stop trying to freaking because it's not. When you walk up Grape Street in Watts, and you see somebody sitting outside shooting up in broad daylight. I mean, smoking crack in broad daylight, prostitute fucking in broad daylight in the bushes. I mean, you ain't seen no damn hood, girl. Y'all need to leave Sean Bradley alone. That man is our children, your children. They may not be yours personally, but they're part of us as a culture. They don't have a place to go. They the streets are not funny. What happens if they get put out of there and they go to a home where somebody really does something to them? Do you see what I'm saying? You are ruining children's lives, trying to ruin their lives like that. That shit is not funny. It's not cute. Ooh, I gotta go.